give yourself a time frame. I think I can solve this problem for this accounting company in 5 to 6 weeks. Well, on week 7, if it's still not solved, maybe you need to start over and find a new problem to solve.
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
How would you like to achieve your first million? And today we have Will, which is joining us from Utah, United States, and he's the founder of Entrepreneurship Apprentice and the co-founder of Data Automation. So this would be nice to hear this answer from a serial entrepreneur, someone that has owned several businesses. So will tell us, what is your secret to make your first million?
So I would say the 5 steps that I would take to make my first million would be, first, to find a problem to solve. So the reason I say start with a problem is because I often hear people say, no, start with a passion, something you're excited about. And I found that the passion is important, but isn't what makes money. The passion is often something that should be a hobby and should remain a hobby, because that's where you enjoy it. A business is something that pumps out money at the end of the day and has very defined, structured inputs. And so when you take something that's fluffy, like a passion, whether that be photography or whether that be, baking cakes, and you push that fluffy thing through the machine of creating a business, at the end, you aren't as passionate about it anymore because it became monotonous. So I say start with a problem to solve. Then after you've found that problem, solve it for yourself. So find that problem. And if it's not a problem you have, I'm okay with that. It had better be a problem that you're willing to completely understand. So like, let's say that you were like, well, I know accountants have a really hard time scaling their businesses. Well, then you better have access to somebody or convince somebody to have access to an accounting firm where you can interview them like crazy. So the second step is solve that problem for one person and then charge them something. And a lot of times you won't be able to give them a price right off the bat because you don't know what it's going to take, but throw something out there, set an expectation. This is not for free, but I will solve this problem and we'll figure out something that's equitable. So solve that problem for one person. Then after you've solved it for one person, you need to start going out there. The third step would be solve that problem for 10 people and build a recurring revenue model. So let's say that you're helping small accountant businesses scale their businesses. You'd solve that for one accounting business. You would charge them something. Then you would turn around and say, okay, now how can I turn this into a problem that I solve for 10 accounting businesses? And I do so in a way that is repeatable and I get some recurring revenue. After you've solved that problem for those 10 people, the fourth step is to bring on an apprentice. And you could hire an apprentice through Entrepreneur's Apprentice. I use the word apprentice loosely, describing someone who's going to come in and learn what you're doing. What are you doing to solve that problem for those 10 people? And the two of you are going to begin to meld and mold and clone to create a second you who's connecting those different dots. And that's going to force you to start getting your, org chart in order, understanding all of those different pieces. And then last but not least, after you've got some kind of juice going on in there, and that fourth step is solve it for 100 people. So that same problem you solve for 10, solve it for 100, and try not to grow the team until you know that it's a team that needs to be grown and not automation or software or other things like that. Because scaling on people sucks. It's just, I love people. You can learn to scale on people, but they can be quite painful to scale on. Then the fifth thing is work yourself out of a job. So find ways to buy back your time until you're no longer in the middle of the business and you've let go of everything that's there. And the one caveat to those 5 steps. So find a problem to solve it for one person and charge them, solve it for 10 people and get paid recurring, solve it for 100 people with an apprentice, and then 5, build systems that put yourself out of a job. That's how you build your first million, because that company is going to be worth more than $1 million by the end of that. If you had 100 accounting firms that are paying you to maintain and help them scale their businesses, the retainer on that's going to be at least $2,000 a month. And so you're bringing in 20 to 30K a month more, and you're creating systems and processes that could turn into SaaS products and all sorts of hundreds of other different things. But you did so by solving a problem once, then 10 times, then 100 times. Then you started to systematically remove yourself from the business. And the caveat is, insert a line between each step that says, is this too difficult to do? i.e., give yourself a time frame. I think I can solve this problem for this accounting company in 5 to 6 weeks. Well, on week 7, if it's still not solved, maybe you need to start over and find a new problem to solve. And same thing is true of all of those different parts of the problem. If you're running up against enough resistance, it's probably time to shift that and go a different direction.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.